and welcome to this episode of the Cold Start Corner, your source for the practice launchpad to bring your practice ownership vision to reality. I'm Eric Matei, and today is our first episode as we enter phase 2 of your Cold Start. Woohoo! Now, you'll recall in phase 1 was all about laying down the foundation for your practice. So it was all about that vision, quantifying that vision through the financial forecast and feasibility analysis, and then creating the blueprint around that vision in your strategic business plan. So with phase 1 and that good solid foundation under our belt, now we're going to get into phase 2, which is development. And particularly in this and the next few episodes, we are exploring all things pertaining to your office location and build out. So what are we talking about here, right? The objective is simple. We are looking to find the ideal location for your practice suited to your vision, budget, and goals. Now here in Office Location Buildout, yes, this is where you get into quantitative and qualitative geospatial analysis for that optimal placement, given all sorts of trends, right? Local economic and demographic trends, right? But not only there, that's just kind of the starting point, right? Because then from here in some of these future episodes, we're going to really start getting into helping understand and navigate the lease and some effective ways to go about lease negotiation. Also, what's going to inform the design of the space and a whole lot more. So definitely tune in here at this episode and the next few regarding everything you need to know for office location and build out. But it really all starts today. And it starts with something that our team believes is number one, and that is going to be you guessed it, the budget, right? So here when we're talking about budget management for your cold start, right, there's a few different moving parts, right? So it's going to start first and foremost with creation of your master budget. Now, if this is kind of ringing a bell, you may recall that in a previous episode, I believe it was maybe episode 2 or 3 of the Cold Start Corner, but you can go back into the archives and find it. But where we got into creating that financial forecast and feasibility analysis, and you will recall that we shared with you that the work you were doing there was the beginning of what's going to evolve into the master budget. So if you started from the very beginning in creating your financial forecast and feasibility analysis, then you'll see that when we're talking about master budget for your build out, some of that work had already been done, right? Okay, so from here though, we've got to take it a step further, right? Because this is where we really start to get into the nitty gritty of locations and rents, so all of the occupancy costs, right? But also that build out, right? So understand there's kind of two moving parts here, right? There's going to be the upfront need to fund the build out. That's certainly going to play a decision into office location and build out, right? But then the second piece is going to be what are the ongoing expenses, right? So here is where you're going to want to assess your rent, and triple net, and well, look, a whole lot of stuff we're going to get into some later episodes here. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But getting back to it, where do we start with your office location build out? It's all about first and foremost budget management. So you want to start by creating your master budget. Again, pick up where you left off with your financial forecast and feasibility analysis. From there, we get into a few different areas, particularly as it pertains to reviewing bid proposals from contractors that we're engaging in the process. And again, this goes back to, and I suppose now I'm referencing so much back to that financial forecast and feasibility analysis, because the more detailed and more thorough you are in creating that, you'll notice that a lot of this stuff almost kind of starts to write itself. But again, when we start with the master budget, when we're getting into bid proposal review, this is really all about understanding and identifying, hey, which of these contractors are we going to work with? And never mind, and we'll talk in a later episode about how to negotiate with contractors and really how to pick that right contractor, checking references and all that stuff, right? So right there in line, again, if we're talking about budget management, we'll have the big overarching master budget. Then we're going to get into your bid proposals, understanding what the contractor is going to bring to the table. And then we're also going to get into some of these other variables regarding materials, right? Because this is another really big variable in what the budget is going to look like, and that's material selection, right? And again, a lot of this also, I'll encourage you to really tie it all back to your vision and your goals, right? And realize that there are options out there, and it's important for you to be aware that there are options out there, particularly as it pertains to material selection, as these can have a significant impact on exactly what those startup costs are going to look like, right? So here also, to take a step further, while we're talking about budget management for your office location and build out, it's also imperative that you check your references for your contractors. And in checking references for your contractors, you're really going to want to evaluate a whole variety of different things. But as it pertains to budget, the key consideration here is the degree to which that contractor was able to complete the job within budget. Again, be sure you're asking for references from your contractors and be sure you are checking those references, right? Office location and build out, arguably one of the single largest, biggest, most financially required decisions out there, right? I mean, if we're talking about building out a space well into the six figures and we're talking about signing a lease that may have you locked in for up to 10 years, really want to be sure that all those T's are crossed and all those I's are dotted. That then leads us to kind of this last little piece here where we're talking about budget management. And this is the first episode about office location and build out. And that has to do with production schedule. Now you may be wondering, Eric, why is production schedule being involved in this conversation about budget management? Your practice cannot start generating revenue until production is done, right? So now you can kind of see where all this comes together, because in the context of creating this master budget, reviewing bid proposals, assessing material selections, checking our contractor references, it is imperative that when all this comes together, everything's staying on schedule with production. Why? It's only when production is done that your practice can start generating revenue. And we all know that obviously that revenue then is a big player here as it pertains to realizing and staying within that master budget. So to kind of wrap things up here, again, we're now into phase 2 of your cold start where we are exploring office location and build out. This episode was all about budget management. And in the future episodes here around office location and build out, we're going to get into your demographic and competitive analyses. We're also going to explore lease negotiations and then get into some really fun stuff. Well, I don't know. If you ask me, this is all a lot of fun. But we know in working with doctors cold starting across the country, it's getting into areas like design optimization and furniture selection and equipment. That seems to be a lot of the more exciting stuff. And probably some of the things that you've got on your mind as you're watching this. But mind you, it's really important you understand the economics behind your office location and build out. So look, be sure to follow us on the socials, subscribe to the Akrinos YouTube channel, check out the Cold Start Corner here at Akrinos.com quite frequently. So we got a lot of really exciting things, resources available through the Cold Start Corner. So wherever you are in your journey, best of luck. Do reach out to us. We love working with emerging practice owners just like you to bring that practice ownership vision to reality. On behalf of all of us here at Akrinos, Eric Matei signing off.